Awesome. Welcome to Jerry Berry's Friend-Tastic Library, the podcast where I interview everyday average people about their fantastic lives. I'm on a roll today. I did this one earlier and I got that one out clearly. I got this one out clearly. I think I finally know my intro now. It only took like 27 episodes. So today I'm talking to my cousin. What's that?
Intros are always important. You got to get that intro. The branding is a key.
Exactly. So practice makes perfect. I'm talking to my cousin Jason today, and even though you're my cousin, I don't really know you that well because I didn't really spend a lot of time with you growing up. I think past the age of like 6 or 7. So that's why I'm super excited to talk to you. We usually talk about the way we met at first, but I must have been like a tiny little baby. I don't remember us meeting ever. Do you have a memory of meeting me?
I do, not like our first meeting, because that I was too young myself. I guess you're trying to say that I'm old is what you're telling the audience today. I appreciate it.
I don't think you're that much older than me, are you? Are you like, I don't think you're that much older than me, are you? Maybe by like 5 years? I don't know.
I'm 35.
Yeah, so 5 years. Okay, cool.
But it felt like I was a lot older when we were younger because, age just makes a bigger difference at that time.
It does.
I can distinctly recall us watching VHS, like Disney and movies on Aunt Cindy's floor. It was just, I can recall us because I would always go over there on the weekend. So it was like Friday through Sunday. I would go, and during the day I'd play football in the back alley with my friends from high school and grade school and whatever. And then you would hang out in the house, and then we would watch like movies on the floor and just like wreck the living room and cause trouble. So that was always a good time. So that's the first thing I can recall of you. And then I used to go over to your mom's. It kind of morphed into that for a while. I would go over there, and our cousin Becky and I would go over there, and she would always bring like a cheesy rom-com movie, and I would always bring a wrestling tape.
I was just going to say that. I have distinct memories about you loving WWE.
Big wrestling guy back in the day, has not changed much. I trained to be a wrestler several years ago. That did not work out, but I am still an avid wrestling fan. So I have not grown up much since 5 years old.
That's amazing. My husband wanted me to make sure that I talked to you about WWE because he is also a huge fan, and he was like, haters are gonna hate, I don't care who judges me, I fucking love WWE. And so he was really excited to talk about that, or for me to talk about that.
The funny thing about wrestling, people look at it as like a child's thing or something you do whenever you're young, and I mean it does hold more nostalgia in the 90s, but by the same token, it's theater, it's acting, it's monologues. There's so many artistic values to wrestling and why it still holds an appeal to us. So I don't think it should be labeled as like a childish thing.
Yeah, that's why he loves it too, is like exactly what you just said. And then he loves all the music because he's always been like an alternative metalhead, and that's like their go-to. And it was kind of like, it still is kind of like the only platform where you turn on like a televised thing that has that style of music in it, right? Because like it's usually not politically correct to put that style of music on television. And so he definitely connected with that as well. But that's awesome. Do you have a favorite wrestler?
All time is Shawn Michaels. Again, growing up in the 90s, Shawn Michaels was the standard bearer for that time period. So sweet chin music all day. I would say modern days, because I more so watch AEW now, which is the new company that's come out in the last couple of years. I'm actually going to see them live in about a month here, 420 in Pittsburgh. So I'll be there for the 3rd time. And it was same arena. First time I was in the arena, I fell over and hurt my elbow pretty bad. Second time I did not fall, so I won round 2. So it's down to round 3 now. I'm looking forward to seeing who wins this time. But current day, I would probably say MJF is a wrestler in AEW that's really good. WWE wise, I would say probably Roman Reigns is obviously the top guy there now. So I like what he's doing a lot.
I have no idea who any of these people are, but I'm totally here for it. I know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is. And I know who The Rock is, and I know who John Cena is, and I think
pretty much the big in wrestling. Yeah.
I think that is the end. I think John Cena is an excellent at acting. I don't think he made it very well as a wrestler. I don't think he's very popular. Is there anybody else? I think there's a guy that does yoga. And we bought like his yoga courses. The
page.
DDP.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also do DDP yoga all the time. It's fun. I've been trying to get him to notice me. I tweet him constantly because his yoga is geared toward handicapped and like war veterans and stuff, people that are older.
Yeah.
problems. And obviously with my disability, I have cerebral palsy and spinal stenosis, and I've had 12 surgeries. And so the fact that I can move around at all is considered like an actual miracle. And so I'm always trying to contact DDP, like, hey, I'm doing your yoga. Can you like sponsor me? Can we get together and like, can you help my CP? Can we get together? Can I go to your camp? Because he has like a camp where he rescued a bunch of wrestlers. And so I would love to go there for like 30 days and just like train intensely and try to improve my physical health. I think he would be a good benefit from that. So hopefully you can,
for sure.
if you're listening, contact me.
We're gonna at you.
Exactly. At me. I'm not going anywhere, DDP. You got to talk to me.
Yeah, exactly. We loved it. We bought like a 3-month subscription and we loved it. And we were actually talking about doing it again whenever we were talking about like New Year's resolutions and just buying like because I think you can actually purchase just like full workouts and not do like a subscription. I don't know. I have to look into it. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a super fun time. And I don't know anything about wrestling, but I loved his energy like on the mat and like the whole like you're doing like the diamond at the end. I love everything about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny because it's like I like the fact that he gears his yoga toward like modifications, because I'm somebody like I have like all kind of hand issues and I have a lot of leg issues, obviously. And so when I'm doing yoga, I cannot do your standard yoga. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to go to class in front of the class. So I like to be doing it at home. I do the energy package, which is like the half an hour a day. I do that one and I modify a lot, but it's still better than not doing exercise at all. So I try and alternate going to the gym and doing yoga every other day. So
yeah, that's awesome. I love everything about that. You're inspiring me to just go and buy the things and do it now. Because I did love it.
You have to plug DDP.
I know, because the other thing too is like with regular yoga, I don't know how to say this in a nice way. I am such a spiritual person and I'm a super California hippie, but at the same time, I feel like I don't really get much from the yoga that focuses on spirituality and almost makes it like a meditation. I like those things to be separate, and his was just fun. Like it was fun to do. The stuff he said was funny. So it made me like look forward to doing it. With other things that I've done with yoga through YouTube or whoever, I get like bored and almost want to fall asleep. And then I don't want to like keep going to do that. So that was the other reason why I liked it.
Presentation is super important. I mean, that's like, I didn't like history for a long time because I had a lot of boring history teachers that were like, and then this happened, and then this happened. And you're just in the back of the class, you know, like I'm eager to learn anything and kind of expand my mind in any direction, as long as the person that's teaching it to me is excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think it's important to learn the way that you learn. So it's definitely beneficial. You do all the things, right? You're like a writer, a director. Did you say you were an actor? I read the form, but yes. I don't remember all of it.
Yes, writer, director, actor, producer. The form ran out of character, so I just stopped typing. Yeah, so the main things that I like to do, I do a lot of journalism. I did some real estate for a little while. I do a lot of podcasts. I have a YouTube channel. I have a self-help blog. I just try to dabble in everything, because how else do you know where your passions lie until you kind of taste every piece of real estate out there? So
yes, I love that.
I do everything, and my main focus lies in all the different avenues of writing that I can do, because I do a lot of stuff in front of the camera and screen as well, and a lot of theater too. But my favorite thing is creating a universe and characters out of nothing, out of nowhere, and just being able to engage your audience in something that didn't exist an hour ago.
I love that. I love everything about that, because I love consuming. I want to write, like I do write stuff a lot, and they're just silly short stories, but I've never done anything that's like a complete book per se. But yeah, I find it fascinating whenever people can just build these worlds that I'm listening to, because I don't like read physical books very well. It takes me a really long time to get them done. I enjoy books a lot more in the audio version. So whenever I listen to books like that and I hear the worlds that they're building and I get so sucked into it, I love it. I love every minute of it. But yeah, that's really awesome. Did you always know that's what you wanted to do, or did you just figure it out in adulthood?
So I used to write back in the day. I kind of blame my Aunt Cindy and people like that for kind of starting me out now, because they used to write little short stories in the basement as well. And so
yeah, Cindy is always very artistic. Even to this day, she still like paints and does all the things.
Yeah, her wolves are amazing. You guys go buy her wolves online. Yeah, it's insane. I used to write full stories at like age 7. I still have a floppy disk that no longer I can put into anything because technology has changed. But I have a floppy disk of the first book I ever wrote. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. It's got 70-page book. I was insane how much I
That's
stuck
awesome.
with that. I just always enjoyed writing. I didn't know it was going to be a career path. Like I said, I took some weird deviations there. I went and trained to be a wrestler before I had my surgeries, and then they found me out. That was illegal because I had CP and spinal stenosis, and I was quite a risk. So I decided that I had to find something new to do, and I worked out that I was given gifts that I could sit down at a desk and do, because physically my body is not what it once was. And so I can't do a lot of labor stuff anymore. I can't move around for long periods of time. So thankfully I've got gifts to be able to sit down in a big chair and just type stuff all day, because I really enjoy doing that. So
I love that.
Clicked to me. I don't really know when it clicked. I guess I went to college, took some writing classes in college, took some theater in college, and just started realizing how I was filling a hole where I was writing a bunch of stuff that I feel like wasn't being put out there. I feel like big studios reverted back to the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
Or a lot of exploding cars or a lot of remakes. It was a lot of boring, kind of the same tangible things. And I'm thinking that there's definitely this big hole, because I have all these stories that haven't been seen before, the world has to see. And I started getting like pains from holding in these stories. It was like a child that wouldn't come out. It was like childbirth, where I had all these stories, and I was like, no, like I know this is unique in some way. I know it's going to touch somebody. I need to put this out there. And so all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I can't do physical stuff. I'm going to start, making characters and making stories. And I haven't stopped since.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about them remaking a lot of stuff. I think ever since Marvel has started, and I love all of the Marvel movies, but ever since they've started, they've kind of taken over the whole cinematic universe. Like nobody can compete with them ever. They're always doing the best thing ever. And so it feels like every other movie that's ever come out has just been like a remake, or it's just not getting the light it deserves because it's overshadowed by Marvel. And yeah, I think that's when I started getting into books because of my job, because I can listen to headphones while I'm at work, and like movies or shows and music got very old very fast. By like day 4, I was over it. So I was like, this is all the same shit. I don't want to keep watching it. I don't want to keep listening to it. So then I just started getting into audiobooks, and now like I know eventually books will start to get old maybe, but I doubt it. I feel like books are just so much more diverse and just have so much more opportunity. I think even if it's like a cliche trope of a fantasy, I still love the world building and the character building and the time you get to spend with those people instead of just a 2-hour movie. So I don't know. That was a really long-winded soapbox that I went on, but
no, but I agree completely. And I feel like Hollywood, especially right now, has been really devoid of fresh ideas. And I don't think it's because nobody has any. I think it's the ones that are employed don't have any, and the ones that aren't employed don't have the right connections to get there, or have the money to make these movies. And so it's, well, the studios are going, well, what's going to be the fastest, easiest way to make some money? So let's go back to stuff we already know you're going to be forced to watch because you watched it when you were 5. So it's stuff over and over again. And I mean, to me, again, there's too many stories to tell that don't get told. That, I mean, it's just like, why waste your time enveloping the same stuff over and over again? Because once the nostalgia wears off, there's nothing else to it. And so to me, people ask me like, what's your inspiration for these movies? Why do you make these movies? And I don't really have an answer, because I'm not inspired by anything else that I've already seen. I try and pull stuff right from this scary brain that I have. It's like, hey, I've never seen this done before. What if I took this and threw it in this weird place? And I just try and make movies based on stuff that I haven't seen done, because I don't want to have you watch my stuff and go, oh, that's like The Conjuring. That's like Insidious. I don't want to be like anything else that I've seen before. I want to be different.
Yeah. I love that. You do all horror stuff, right?
I do mostly horror stuff. I also in the book form, I also write poetry books. I want to write a children's book pretty soon.
That'd be cool.
In terms of the movie stuff, I do a lot of dramas as well. I found that for a while I wasn't getting a lot of acting roles because I'm physically limited in what I can do in terms of movement and stuff like that. And I feel like because I have a very distinctive walk, I have this penguin waddle that I embrace. But the penguin waddle, I'm typecast out of certain roles. And so I decided that I was tired of being the demon or the monster for a while, and I wanted to go be a lead actor. So I decided that I was going to write some short dramas, some tragic love stories, or some Shakespearean style love stories. And I starred in those too, because I figured, well, if there's not an avenue, I'm going to kick the door down. So
yeah, exactly. Just do it. Just make it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. If I wasn't getting characters with enough meat on the bone and enough substantiality to them, I would just create my own. So I started doing that as well. So in book form, I kind of go back and forth between the poetry and the horror. In film form, it's kind of more so like the drama, thriller, horror kind of sect of things. But I also did one during COVID. I'm not sure if you had a chance to watch it yet. It's called Shackles. And it is currently touring Paris and Los Angeles right now. And it was
that's cool.
It was literally just a 2-character, 3-person casting crew. It was myself, the other actor, and the camera person, the DP. And the 3 of us shot this film in 4 hours on a $0 budget. And now it's touring the world. It's insane. But it was a anxiety and depression film. It was a very heavy, first time I ever did a silent film in my entire life. It was no dialogue, all music, totally silent.
That sounds really cool. I want to watch it now.
Literally just a character study, my version of a COVID film, because when COVID hit, everyone started making these like self-contained COVID films, and they became kind of gay. And I went, well, I kind of want to do a COVID film, but I want to do something no one has done yet. So I decided to do a COVID film based on the person being surrounded by anxiety and depression. And I won't say any more to spoil it for your viewers that haven't watched it yet, but it's up on YouTube right now for free. And it also is doing some local screenings around here if you're in the Pittsburgh area as well. So check that out. And it's very different than my usual fare. So it is kind of a self-contained horror, but it's more so a psychological drama based on personal trying to escape the doldrums of your regular life and get outside and breathe.
I love that. I definitely want to check it out. Whenever it comes to horror, I think I just don't like, because I can read horror more than I can watch it, which sounds very weird to a lot of people. But I think seeing it on camera really bothers me whenever there's like a lot of gore and stuff. I don't know why. I tend to just cover my eyes for a lot of that. And I don't like jump scaring for the sake of jump scaring. So like there's some stuff that I can watch and think they're really good. Like the first Saw I watched, I thought it was an excellent movie. You can judge me if you want. I don't know anything about the industry, so you're probably like, these are all horrible.
I'm a fan of the first 3 Saw movies. The last 7 have not been quite as good.
Yeah, I only saw the first one. And so I'm trying to think of other ones I've watched. I know that Insidious messed with my brain like a lot because I'm a big dreamer. I like love my dreams. I write them down, and that is a scary movie about dreams, and it sat with me for way longer than I wanted it to. But the monster I felt they made kind of hokey looking, which I wasn't okay with. That helped me a little bit because then I wasn't as scared. One that is not meant to be a horror film but really freaked me out was Bird Box. Okay. I think that's just supposed to be a thriller, but since they don't show a monster, I feel like it made it so much scarier than like if they actually had a monster. Yeah, I can't think of anything else really, but I do like, I've read as far as books, I read The Institute by Stephen King, which is technically not one of his horrors. It's like considered a thriller. And I really love like thriller books. And if there's like some gore, I don't mind it as much. I feel like in my head, it's never as bad as it is seeing it on TV.
Yeah, see, it's funny because people look at me, and I grew up, again, born in the 80s, raised in the 90s. And so I grew up in the slasher era where there was just like a lot of gratuitous nudity, a lot of gratuitous gore. And people think like, okay, you're doing horror films, you're probably doing a lot of gore. I really haven't used a lot of gore in my stuff. The first time that I really used any gore was the new film that I just did. The trailer just released on YouTube like a week or so ago. It's called A Soul's Window, and it's a character study. And essentially it is coming to terms with your decision making and kind of the effects it has on you in the long term. And so it is this kind of wheeling and dealing, smooth talking businessman who spent his life making bad deals on purpose, wakes up after a suicide attempt, and he comes face to face with his accusers and those that he's done wrong in his life. And so it is a very intense around a table 4-person character study about the effects your choices have on your life. And it's the first time that I ever did body horror. It's the first time that I ever did some kind of gore, but the gore is all contained around these characters, and kind of it's all there for a reason. It kind of becomes that you see this person's physical being kind of turn into what his insides look like. You see a manifestation of his personality coming out in his physical body. And so there's an actual reason for the gore. My other stuff is really psychologically based. It's all driven on good people do bad things for good reasons, and those that are bad can do good things for bad, or bad things for good reasons.
Yeah.
And so it's all about people changing people, and kind of how do you survive through the tragedy in your life.
I love that. I'm gonna have to look at all your things now. That's probably what I'll be stuck on for the next 17 days at work.
They're all short, so they're all fast.
I was gonna ask you, do you like Guillermo del Toro movies?
I like some, yes. I'm a big fan of Shape of Water. I think that's a brilliant movie.
Yes, me too. I love that one.
It's great. I grew up also watching the Universal monster movies, so to see like homage to Creature from the Black Lagoon, I think is genius. That's kind of what it was made to be a sequel of, because initially Del Toro was going to direct an actual Black Lagoon sequel, and something through he wasn't able to, so he took that script that he was going to write for that and made this Shape of Water, which won a ton of awards and did a lot of good things for horror thrillers. And I'm really glad, because it's a well-told story, and it has so many aspects of drama and love and just like escape and all these things. Great movie. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark was a pretty good one as well. I enjoyed that one. Crimson Peak, that one. Nice moments too. Yeah, I think all of his stuff has a good style. Sometimes the pacing can be lacking, or certain characters can be lacking, but I think he has a visual style, and he has a pacing that I kind of like.
Yeah, I think it's the visuals for me more than anything. I just watched his, not just, but whenever it came out, I watched his newest one with Bradley Cooper, Nightmare Alley.
I've not seen that one yet. I'm looking forward to it.
And I do think that it's slow. A lot of people didn't like it, but I think you have to love his style to love it, because I think his cinematography is really beautiful. I think everything is placed for a reason, and the aesthetics are there for a reason, and I really like looking at the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the characters, but that one is really good because it is more of like a psychological movie. I think most of his are psychological movies, actually, now that I think about it.
He's pretty good about delving into the brain, because the brain is the scariest place in the world. I mean, people look all these natural apparitions and ghosts, and they just do these loud noises, like you said, jump scare for the sake of being a jump scare. I'm not a fan of James Wan stuff, and I know being a horror fan, other horror fans are like, he's the best, what do you mean? But to me, I just feel like he devolves too much into the jump scare, and he loses the sake of story and character.
What has James Wan done?
James Wan is The Conjuring, The Insidious, The Nun. The Nun movie, all the Conjuring sequels. His best movie, in my opinion, aside from producing that first Saw and writing that first Saw, was Dead Silence, which is a doll film, and he hates that film. I don't know why. He's not a fan of it. It's a really underrated, fun film, because the tension is just, it's there the entire time. It's thumping underneath. And so finally, when you kind of get the big reveals, it all comes together. And I feel like that's a story I want to see. Whereas The Conjuring and Insidious, there's some nice shots, some long hallway tracking shots that are nice. And he does a good job with like sound design. But aside from that, there's not much meat to the bone. I like looking for the substance and the why of things versus just the loud jump scare, because the jump scare, you're going to forget about 20 seconds later. But the why and the reasoning, you're going to take out of the theater and go to the Starbucks across the street and talk to your friend about.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how I felt about Saw too. It Saw as well is what I should say, not the second Saw movie. It was like, I loved that the guy was there the whole time, and it was like this huge thing that was like mind blowing. Like, I didn't really care or take with me the weird torture devices that they had come up with, but just like the mind games behind it. Yeah, for sure. I was trying to think of what this one movie was called that I went in theaters to see with somebody. And it was another one of those that would have been good if the creature that was supposed to be scary would have been better executed. But it's like a classic where they move into the new house. And I think there's like monsters that live in the vents that collect the girl's teeth or something like that. Or they want teeth and they're in the vents. But then whenever you finally see the little monsters, they're just these weird little fur balls that aren't, like, they're not scary anymore. That just looks dumb.
It's sad because when you even describe that, there's like 15 of those movies. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was called. And I was like, this was scary whenever you were just hearing these weird, creepy things through the vents that wanted to like collect. I'm pretty sure it was teeth that they wanted to collect. And you're like, ooh, but then you see them and you're like, oh, this is dumb now. But like,
the soapboxes that I have is like practical effects are so important. Like every time like we do our short indie films, we're obviously on a very minute budget. If anything, I try and always be one of the filmmakers around here that budgets my film. So I try to save several $100s at least for the cast and crew. And I always pay for practical effects because you can tell the difference. Whenever there's a creature that looks bad, or whenever you see an effect where someone just bursts into flames and it looks like it was done on a 6-year-old's, instrument, it's just like, takes you out of the film because you want to suspend disbelief and you want to just immerse yourself in the movie. And if something looks obviously phony, you can't do that anymore. You start laughing at the horror film and it's no longer scary. So
yeah, exactly.
I feel like practical effects are so important. I know there's times that you have to use special effects. There's times that you're just your budget or your effect that you want to do is not available in person. But I feel like anytime you can, always go practical because it makes a big difference on screen.
Yeah, for sure. Are you a fan of like the old school horror films like Pet Sematary?
Huge fan
Yeah.
of that. Yeah,
I mean, they had to use practical effects back then, right? So I feel like even if it looked a little fake, it looked more realistic than it does in some of the movies now. Because at least it was a real thing existing in the world that they could actually like touch.
Pet Sematary in particular is one of those that the environment makes it what it is. Like you can tell that it's a big backwooded forest. You're secluded. I love whenever there's a film where you have like 1 to 2 locations. And I mean, that's what we're forced to do around here as Pittsburgh indie filmmakers is you're kind of stuck to a couple locations, a couple characters because you can only afford that. So you're forced to use your brain to create unique scenarios and unique reasons to be there. And that's what makes you a good filmmaker. If you're able to pull out, okay, I only have $20 for this. I have to go and find the best way to do this on $20. And so you're forced to be creative. And that's what some of the bigger studios now are lacking because they could just go on their computer and type a button and they could find some effect that makes you jump out of your seat. So
yeah,
that cemetery was really cool because it was stuck in that one location and they had creepy kids and creepy cats. And those are just they always make for good movies.
Yeah, for sure. Did you, you have the Mike Myers poster behind you. Did you see the newest Halloween one?
I did. Yes. I saw that opening weekend in theaters. Always going to be a fan of those. I'm a hypocrite because I was just talking crap about all the big studios going back to the same old sequels. I'm always going to support them when they're there because I can't not watch a Michael Myers movie or a Jason or Freddy or Chucky. I go to see every one of these in theaters.
I feel it.
I the problem is me. I'm at fault. But yeah, I did see Halloween Kills and I thought it had a lot of logistical issues. I like it's every single one of these movies now. I had the same issue with Candyman. I had the same issue with the new Scream, which I saw all those in theaters too. And I feel like the nostalgia is great and the directors have a lot of reverence to the original material. And there's always good choices that kind of bring you back to the original that you're like, oh, that's really cool to see that on screen again. But then they try to make it different by making these out there choices. But a lot of times those choices don't fit with the characters. So I thought in like Halloween Kills, it was a pretty good movie at times because they would flash back to some of the stuff that happened back in the original film, but the timelines didn't always add up, or they would add characters that weren't actually there the first time, and so they're trying to kind of jump the shark to add new stuff in. But you're like, no, I saw that movie. That didn't happen before. So that's the hard part about being a hardcore fan and having watched all the films 1,000 times is that you see the obvious holes the new storytellers are trying to tell. So it's kind of hard. Because you're messing with an IP that's been around for 30 years and the fans are waiting to jump on you. So it's kind of hard to make something new.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. I was going to say something and I don't remember what it was, but I did have another question about old movies with It, because I saw you have creepy clowns on your fridge. So did you like the new It, or are you still a Tim Curry It fan?
Yeah, so I've got someone, a friend of mine made me and shipped me that little knitted It back there. And then right next to the knitted one, there is an 8-bit version of It from the Nintendo days. So I'm a huge Pennywise fan. I like both versions. I think It is one of the movies, in my opinion, that was made to be remade over again. This is one of the few that I understood why it was made a second time. Okay. Because the original one was a made for TV. It was a TV series that ran for like 4 days in a row. I think actually, I'm not sure if it was cut into 4 or if it was just the chapter 1 and chapter 2 were kind of ran on separate days, but it was a made for TV series that was made to be kind of hokey and made for Tim Curry to be over the top and be kind of crazy, which he did a great job at. But Bill Skarsgård's version of Pennywise was a much different, more visceral, more manic, more in your face kind of scary version, and the movie was definitely made as more of a movie, so it was a different style of film. Loved the first one, didn't love the second one. I thought the second one, first of all, if a movie, I'm gonna get in my soapbox here again, nothing against those Marvel ones you were talking about, because there's some of those that I really enjoy, but if a movie is 19 hours long, I'm not going to the theater. Like, I can't, if I have to wear a catheter to watch a movie, I'm not doing it. Like I be comfortable. So to me, The second one was like 3 hours and 19 minutes or whatever. And I'm like, okay, like we get the point, guys. Like you couldn't tell this story in 2 hours. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
So, to me, and the second one, in my opinion, just the kids were more charismatic and had better chemistry and better finality to their characters than the ones in the new one did. They didn't kind of, all the the characters in the second one when they were adults were kind of sensationalized. It didn't feel very natural. It felt like they were all just given these big jobs, and there was just a lot of like, they turned Pennywise into a lot of random little creatures. I know that Pennywise, the idea behind it is that it's not one thing, it's a bunch of things, but that clown character, that Pennywise version, is so synonymous with the film that when you start making it a bunch of other little creatures and you start going into too much of the different variations of it, it kind of loses its appeal to me. So I think the second one was kind of lacked in execution, but the first one I loved.
That's awesome. My husband went and saw the I don't think he saw the second one. I know for sure he saw the first, and he said it was super duper scary, that I should not go see it because I would not be able to handle it. So I never watched it. Do you go and watch scary movies to be scared? Like, do you like the sensation of being scared?
It's hard to be scared nowadays because one, I've seen almost every major horror film in the history of horror since 1930. Secondly, I make these for a living now, so
Yeah.
you're made, so they're not as scary once you know how it's done.
That was my second question, is if it's like lost the magic for you now that you make them.
Yeah, and also the third thing is I'm also a film journalist for PopHorror.com. I cover this stuff for the website as a written journalist, and I also have a YouTube channel that covers a lot of movies as a speaking journalist. So not only am I watching films redundantly, as I've seen so many, but I'm also watching them as a filmmaker in that perspective, but also as a reviewer in that perspective. So all of those things lend you to not be as scared because you're analyzing and you're watching it. You kind of you don't lose your fandom. You're always a fan. You always enjoy the process, but you're thinking of kind of what you're going to write and what you're going to say and how you're going to create that on your set and all these different things. So you're not fully imbibing in what's on screen. You find yourself so much divulging into all these other pockets of like how you can adapt this for yourself and how you can review this and tell the audience what you thought of it. So you do lose part of that like innocence, because when you're going there when you're 5, you're just going there to jump a lot. You're not going there to write about stuff. It does kind of take some of it away, but I love it so much. I've been such a fan of movies in general and horror that I'm never going to lose that fandom. I'm always going to go and support the artist and go and like look up the credits of who was who and kind of like look into their careers and follow the directors I enjoy and stuff like that. So when you're a fan since you're a kid, that part of your kid nature never goes away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel that. I get so weird about trailers and spoilers these days when it comes to movies or shows in general. For books, I feel like spoilers don't matter as much. I mean, I guess you could reveal like a huge gigantic plot twist that somebody didn't see in a book, but even if you do say, if I watch a review about a book and they give you some more information than is needed, I don't feel as spoiled, because again, a book is like a long commitment of being with these characters. But with movies, I got to the point where I can't even like see a trailer anymore because it'll ruin it for me and it'll take me out of the movie whenever I'm there watching it, because I'll be like, oh, this was in the trailer. Oh, where was that part that was in the trailer? Or like, oh, I already knew that was going to happen because I saw the trailer. Because they're getting, and again, this goes back to the redundant thing. They're getting so redundant that I feel like I can just find the twist before it happens so easily. So if I just go in completely blind and don't even like know half the actors that are in it, like I'll be golden.
I agree. That's again, since this is like soapbox hour for me, I feel like trailers nowadays are spoiling so much of the movie, and I don't know why so I just for my previous films I had never done trailers because number one, my films range between like 12 and 20 minutes. They're shorts, so there's no need for a trailer when you've already got a short. But we just did my first trailer ever for a window. We were showing it at the theater the other day. I had 2 films of mine premiere plus the trailer for my newest movie. And the trailer's a minute long. It's very short. It's very quick, but it leaves you guessing. You have no idea what the hell you're looking at. And that's what I wanted, because that's what a trailer should be. It should intrigue you and confuse you and make you excited to see whatever the hell's going on in this movie. Whereas a lot of times they're like, this guy's the killer. Watch him stab these 5 girls. And you're like, I've seen all the jump scares now. I don't know what the point of this is. So nowadays you do have to like, there's been times that I've gone to a friend's house and we will watch like random trailers on YouTube and they're like, should I watch this one or should I avoid it? Is it going to spoil things? Because now they all spoil everything. You know?
Like, I'm pretty sure for Thor, I think it was for Thor Ragnarok, the trailer or the advertising showed him with short hair. And I'm so glad that I stayed blind to all of that, because I was completely astonished whenever I saw him in the movie with short hair. I was like, I'm here with you, Chris Hemsworth. I feel it. He should not have cut your hair. Um, and then, like, but I think the most amazing thing that they ever did with those movies was completely keep everything coveted and in secret about Fat Thor. Whenever he came to like whenever he came to end, was it Endgame where he was Fat Thor? I loved that so much. And I was like, if you could just do this with everything and just not spoil anything and just treat everything like Fat Thor, I would love you forever and ever and ever. Thank you, Marvel. That's my TED talk.
Everything feels so much more authentic whenever it comes out of a place of like genuine whatever emotion you're going for. Like I was when I did a film called Something Within in 2017, I was a creature character. I was a dream demon kind of fellow. And I purposely wanted to stay away from the girl I was trying to stalk in the film because I didn't want her to see the makeup. I didn't want her to be spoiled to it, because I am a very like personable, funny guy. So if you hang out with me when I'm getting makeup, you're not going to be afraid. If you try to withhold yourself until the scene is the time for the scene comes up, then you could get a genuine reaction from somebody because you don't know what's under the makeup necessarily. So I try and do that. And it's kind of the same thing for, generally any kind of book, any kind of trailer. You want to withhold stuff as much as possible, because then you see it in theaters and you go, oh my goodness, like what a big surprise. What a big fan service moment. They do stuff for the audience so you don't really catch it until later on. It feels like you're part of something because you're discovering it for the first time in the theater. If everybody already knows about it on YouTube, it's no longer special.
Yeah, exactly. I watch the YouTube channel Actors on Actors, where they interview each other, and I love that so much because I learn a lot about like how certain directors and stuff run things. And I love hearing stories, and it's a kind of almost unhumane, but they consent to it and they're there for it, where like the director will purposefully torture a person in the movie to get an authentic reaction, or leave them out completely until it actually happens, and that kind of stuff. Like Matt Damon talked about Saving Private Ryan, and the director for Saving Private Ryan sent everyone to boot camp, an actual boot camp, except for Matt Damon, because he was supposed to be the new guy that didn't know anything, and they were supposed to be a tight-knit group that just didn't like him because he was new. And so it really came through on camera because these real people had to go to real boot camp, but Matt Damon didn't. He just showed up like did a movie.
There's like two modernized stories of that. There's one with The Shining, obviously, with Stanley Kubrick and Shelley Duvall.
Yeah.
Duvall was tortured on set. She was just like absolutely like beside herself, screaming and afraid of Jack Nicholson and everything. And they went to some pretty torturous lengths with her. I don't entirely condone all of that, but they got
exactly
out of it. But the newest one was Mother, Darren Aronofsky. I think it was 2018.
My garage door is opening. I don't know who's on the other side of it though.
Stanley Kubrick is going to come in and say hello.
It's incredibly loud. Who opened the garage door? I guess we'll find. See, this is what I mean. There's always fun stuff that happens here.
It's a horror movie. Something is happening to expose.
I bet you someone's going to figure out that I'm out here and they're going to be like, oh shit, Jerry's doing a podcast. I forgot. And then we're going to have to listen to the garage awkwardly close, because that's happened multiple times.
This is the really important BTS stuff. Like you only see on the cutting room floor, Who's coming in the garage hearing us discussing all these classic horror movies.
So anyways, your modern example of torture on set was what now?
So the newest one is Mother, Darren Aronofsky, who I think is an absolute genius. He did Black Swan. He did The Wrestler. He's just
What are you doing? You're killing me. That is the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if the microphone is picking it up, but I hope not.
It certainly is. I don't know if there's like mice being tortured there. I don't know what is happening. It sounds like there's a gaggle of mice being strangled. That's what's happening.
Yep, there it goes. It's closing now.
All the light just closed in with it too. Like it just like had a light on your face. It was like zzz.
Yep, that was the sun. My husband just slowly walks past, pushing a jack to jack up a car, and they have those shitty little wheels on them. So it's like, squeak, 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 squeak.
Yeah, I didn't realize this was the ASMR podcast. I had no idea.
Anyways, so
Yeah,
Mother, I did not see Mother.
yeah. So Jennifer Lawrence was the main girl in that. And spoiler alert for those of you guys that haven't seen it, it's 4 years old. Go check it out. It's Jennifer Lawrence and I forget the guy's name, but he plays essentially God, and she plays Mother Earth essentially. And so it's a biblical allegory about humans tearing stuff down, like we are wont to do. And Jennifer Lawrence had to just do a lot of like screaming and like being mortified by the treatment of different things around her property, her child, stuff like that. So she's running around screaming the entire time. And they said that Aronofsky made her do so much screaming and did so many things to get her to scream authentically that her vocal cords were ruptured on the production of that. And so they didn't talk for a long time. Their like close friendship was ruined for quite a while. I don't know if they're talking now, but yeah, she actually was really against him just because he made her scream so much, and she actually got injured from it.
Oh my God. Yeah, that has to be in a contract somewhere where he'd end up having to like pay something, I would assume. I don't know. Maybe they didn't even prepare for it because they didn't think it would ever happen. But that's horrible.
It does show well on screen though. It's definitely a very fun movie.
Yeah.
Not for her, but it's for us.
I'll have to watch that one now. I really like Jennifer Lawrence. I remember watching Joy and just being so upset the whole time. Like, I don't know why it's called Joy. I thought it was going to be a nice feel-good movie. And again, spoiler alert, it is not.
They don't know Joy, obviously.
Yeah. So
last night I rewatched Silver Linings Playbook, so same team.
I love that movie. I love it. I always put it on because I never want Netflix to take it off.
That's a way of making sure it stays on there. You're the one person viewing it over and over again.
Exactly. I love that movie so much. I don't know where it was filmed, but I know that Cooper is from Philadelphia, and it just feels like a very very Pittsburgh / colonial home to me, like the house itself. And then I think everybody's crazy. I know that I'm crazy, and I think everybody's crazy on their own spectrum. So I love that captured the essence of like crazy families so well. I love everything about that movie. So I could go on about that movie forever.
Yeah, that's the genius thing about David O. Russell. Like they did that. It was based on a book. I haven't read the book. There is a book that came first. But my goodness, it was like it took the bipolar disorder and it put such a realism to it. It felt like such an authentic movie, whereas a lot of those movies try and do something like that just to say they did a movie about so and so, and they do it on such a grand scale. They do it at such a 10 like all the time. It was nice to have them do a realistic portrayal of it, and so it's nice to have that on screen in a way that doesn't feel forced or funny or making fun of it or anything. It's done in a real way.
Yeah, and it shows how it affects everyone around you whenever you suffer from mental health. It's not just you. And then it shows the guilt that you have whenever you cause the suffering on all the other people around you. And like there's a line where he's talking to his therapist after he hears the song in the waiting room, and he freaks out. And then he's sitting there and he's talking to his therapist, and he's like, yeah, so basically I've just been white knuckling it through life. And it was like the way he explained that scene, I was like, oh, I feel that so much, like with my like depression and anxiety, and I never wanted to ask for help or pretend that it was real, and I was just like white knuckling it. I'm like, I'm fine, I'll just make it through, it'll all be fine. And then like yeah, I loved everything about that movie, all of it.
That sort of became a standard for me when I was doing Shackles. I was thinking about how to portray anxiety and depression in a way that is fantastic in terms of the acting, but realistic as well in terms of the character. And so it was trying to show people that have those things that you can kind of push past your day-to-day issues, and sort of the whole mantra behind Shackles is, just hang on one more day and just continue to fight, because it always finds a way to get better. You just have to push through all the madness. And so when I look at something like Silver Linings Playbook, it's one of the best portrayals, I think, of internal struggle that I've seen. And so I hope that Shackles can live up to that standard.
I think it will, because I think you know what you're doing. But yes, I love the way you said that. Like, it's hard to portray internal struggles on screen because we internally struggle every day and nobody knows the difference. So how are you going to get an actor to show that they're internally struggling and then like keeping it together? I think another really good example that deals with Bradley Cooper again, but in the movie He's Just Not That Into You, Bradley Cooper dates, I forget the actress's name, and she fucking loses it in Home Depot over him smoking. And I feel like she was a so underrated part of that movie with mental health that I loved every minute of her. And I'm pretty sure, wasn't she the one from the Labyrinth? I'm pretty sure it was the girl from the Labyrinth that played her.
It's been such a while since I've seen it. I saw it initially, but it's been years at this point. I couldn't tell you.
That movie is such a cliche rom-com. I love it, but it's a super cliche. But she just played this perfect role of this like woman that gets married to Bradley Cooper and just they're not in a good place. And she has this severe phobia with smoking because I think her dad or somebody died of it. And he's like having affairs all the time and it's very obvious, and she just stays blind to it. And then eventually he comes clean and says that I did have an affair, but she's just pissed because she found cigarettes somewhere like in his drawer or something. So they're in Home Depot and he's trying to confess, and then she's like, "Were you smoking?" And she just totally loses it. And I was like, I love that. That's like the realest thing I've ever seen about mental health, where she's like, I don't care about anything else. My brain has been stuck thinking about those cigarettes that I found 47 days ago and I can't get them out of my brain, and I'm just going to lose it.
Well,
I loved it.
That's realistic for people even that don't have like diagnosed mental health issues, is that people like there's a certain thing like you wish you had said to somebody or something someone said to you that's stuck in your brain. We always get up on those little trenching comments, those little small things that just play 24/7 in our minds. And you go, I wish I had said this thing, or I wish I had closure to this. I wish I had the answer to this. I don't know why this happened. And it just bothers you, even though you're trying to pretend you're fine. Oh, it's good. It's fine. No big deal. And you're trying to live your life and go through Aldi and buy the list. And then you realize you're in aisle 4 and you're like, fucking cheese. Like something just goes off in your mind. And all of a sudden you're just like a downhill spiral because this thing you've been trying to suppress kind of comes bubbling up to the surface like it always does eventually anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. So if maybe she wasn't like the portrait for mental health, but she definitely portrayed it in a really, really good way.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else related to her as much as I did, but yeah, I guess I never thought about people just getting stuck on things, even if they didn't have mental health issues. The other day, I don't know how we got on mental health, but now we're stuck here. The other day I was saying something about I think I saw a TikTok or something, and it was talking about internal monologues and do you see pictures or do you hear your voice or do you see words? And I was like, wait, there's differences? Like, I don't know. So then I was asking my husband about it. And he was like, oh no, I hear like my voice, right? And I was like, okay, me too. And that's like, they just say all the bad things. And he's like, oh, your voice says bad things? And I was like, yeah, your voice doesn't say bad things. It was one of those moments where I was like, oh, it must be because, your parents just loved you as a child and you grew up with just like a dream home in America. That sounds great. Whatever.
You're one of the privileged ones, aren't you? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I guess my thing is always when I'm mad about something, it's always that like I'm somebody that like my time on earth is limited, and I guess all of us have that same thing, but like because of CP and like the lifespan and all the surgery stuff like that, I'm not meant to be here for a full life term. So for me, I try and, Hakuna Matata, right? Seize the day, be present all the time. And so I like to say everything that I'm feeling all the time. And I don't do it in a mean-spirited way. It's usually good things like how I appreciate or love somebody or whatever. But sometimes you get stuck in this, like, I have to get this out. I'm offended by this thing, or I was hurt by this thing or whatever. So even in like a nice, but like cogent way, I try to say everything I'm feeling so that I don't have those like harboring of like suppression in my heart, because that's something that bothers me is that like, oh, I just wish I had said this and now who knows when I'm gonna get the chance to say it again kind of thing. But I try to always go to bed having said every word I could say that day. I feel like, and that comes across in my scripts. Like I'm definitely a talker. I'm sure you've noticed in the last 45 minutes, I'm definitely a talker, and I'm somebody who just I like to listen and to be heard. And so it comes down to was all the communication we had to have in this situation, was it all brought forth, or was somebody holding something back? And so I would much rather say the extra stuff at the risk of being a pain in someone's ass versus like holding it in and harming myself in that way and like holding on to something that you haven't gotten out, because then all of a sudden you get stressed, then you do get anxiety, then you do have heart issues and stuff like that. So I'd much rather go to bed breathing out, knowing that I've gotten everything out there for better or for worse.
Yeah, same. I'm the same way. I try really hard not to be mean and to only spread love and light and love everybody and not judge everybody, but sometimes I just have to vent and get it out. And I'm finding that this is very therapeutic, because whenever you talk to people of all different colors, races, theories, religions, all the things. Everything comes up that you've ever wanted to talk about in your life, and then you get to like get your word out there, whether it's like hearing theirs and then sharing yours or vice versa. So that's part of the reason why I started this too, was I love talking, and I needed an excuse to talk about things. And I needed an excuse to talk to other people, because I love talking to people, and COVID like ruined all of that for like a long time. Like still to this day, it's still ruining things. So yeah, that was like the huge drive for this. Before this, basically everything I've ever talked about on this show, I talked to my husband until the cows came home, and he was probably ready to murder me in my sleep. But
Well, that's the thing is like you said, you get on to talk to somebody from, a different way of life, a different, level of financial success, or a different area in general, whatever. And issues come up that you have no idea you're going to be discussing. I mean, even just today, I'm sure you figured we discuss movies and books, but you did figure we discuss, mental health or whatever. Like things always, conversations just veer themselves into natural places, and you learn about somebody else's history, and you learn more for yourself. Like I always, in these Zoom conversations, I always come away going, I didn't think about that perspective, and now I understand it better.
Yeah, definitely. I love learning new perspectives and learning why people think the way they do. I don't have to agree with the way they think, but I love learning why they think the way they do.
It's fascinating. I took a psychology course in college, and I almost wanted to just major in psychology, because I like social science has always been an area that's fascinated me. I love people watching. I love people analyzing.
Yeah, same.
I love just like the therapy aspect of going, this person made a choice that I wouldn't have made, but I didn't have the upbringing they had. So I wonder what in their life may have caused that thought, or who may have taught them a certain way, or whatever it is, because we're always a product of our environments. We're a product of our experiences, our traumas, our families. There's so many things that make us who we are. And like those little random, micro introspections all form kind of one full person. And so people don't always consider all the things that go into making you who you are. They just go, oh, that's the wrong decision because I wouldn't have done it that way, so you're bad. It's not that absolute. There's no black and white when it comes to that, unless you're a murderer or a rapist or something like that.
Yep.
There are a few black and white things, but I mean, for the most part, we are all parts of good and bad. We're all makeup of things that are good and bad, and we choose kind of what to bring to the surface and who to be.
Yeah, we're all just trying to survive. That's kind of like where I've come from with it, is like you're making your decisions based on what you need to do to survive. So I think you may or may not have frozen, or I froze. We'll see if you come back in a sec. We can do like the little Jeopardy song while we wait or something.
It's going to come back. Come on.
Oh, yeah, there it is. See, I knew it would happen. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
no, this is the freezing I was talking about. It happened like 3 or 4 times in a random thing. I just dance till it comes back on. I just figure if I move around, it'll move with.
Yeah, I usually just keep talking because I don't know what else to do. But yeah, I always come at it from a perspective of survival. Like you're doing whatever you need to do to survive. And I always like to say that I love people the way that I love trees. And like, I just love all trees. I don't care what color or shape they are, or if they're blooming or if they're not. But if a tree were to murder another tree, I'd probably have a problem with that tree. I just wouldn't really want to hang out with it at all.
Tree on tree murder is a bad problem for sure.
So that's how I feel about people. Like I don't really want to hang out with you if you murder other people, or like do horrible things like that. I understand that you're doing it because you think you need to for whatever reason in your brain, but I don't want that in my space, so I'm just not gonna.
Well, there's something else to that too, about like you can disagree with somebody's way of doing things, and you can cheer for them to heal away from you. You know what I mean? Like certain people that are hurting and hurt people and all of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of times somebody is doing something you disagree with, and you go, I really don't like their way of business or whatever it is. So I'm still going to cheer for them, and I hope they can learn from this situation. They can get better, but I'm going to keep it out of my circle so that I don't get infected by this thing, because a lot of times the stuff we take in kind of impacts and affects and kind of manifests what kind of day, week, month, year we're going to have ourselves. So it's important to surround yourself, not just with somebody who's like-minded because you can broaden your horizons, but with somebody who, the people around you that are cheering for you, that are elevating you, that you can elevate.
Oh, you froze again. It's probably mad because we're recording for so long. Mine does that sometimes too.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Sorry you talked for a minute and nobody heard you. I bet it was really important.
Okay. Whatever I said, love everybody. Love each other, guys. That's important.
Exactly. I think it is. I think Zoom gets like really mad if you record for too long. Because mine will start messing up if we get closer to like the hour and a half range. It'll start like being like, you got to get out of here, Jerry. It's time to go. But
my computer too. My computer also doesn't have the best memory in the world. So at times, like, yeah, no, you talk too much.
Yeah, exactly. Before we go, I had random questions for you because I like to ask them at the end of every episode. Do you have a Winnie the Pooh character you identify with?
I've always been told that I laugh like Tigger, so I would say Tigger. Yeah, apparently he has a very distinctive laugh like I do.
Okay, I love that. I can definitely see you as a Tigger. Do you know your astrology signs or your sun sign?
The only thing I know is I'm a Leo because my birthday's in August. People always come at me with all these different things like, oh, sorry, I'm a this or that. That's why I react this way whenever you eat the blue Skittles or whatever. I don't know. Otherwise, I have no idea. No.
Awesome. I love astrology, so I like to ask if anybody knows like any of their signs or their sun sign. I'm a Pisces. What else is there? Do you have a favorite Spice Girl?
Favorite Spice Girl. That's a good question. Man, that is. I've not been speechless for 35 years. So you're doing a good job here. I would say favorite Spice Girl song was probably Lover. Obviously, that's everyone's, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Sporty. Be Sporty.
Okay, I haven't heard Sporty yet. I don't really know much about the Spice Girls, to be honest. I just know one of them's named Jerry because that's my name. And I think she was Scary because Jerry and Scary rhyme. What were the other ones? Do you have a favorite spice that you cook with?
I really enjoy Cajun spice. Dry Cajun seasoning does a lot. Because I was always into spicy foods. My Aunt Bach, if you know Aunt Bach on my mom's side of the family, she is Uncle Bill's wife, obviously, is from Thailand. So
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, she was. Her name is Malai. We always called her Bach as kids. She always would cook with the authentic Thai ingredients. So I love spice. I love anything Mexican, Chinese, Thai, Indian. I love curry-based stuff. So yeah, Cajun for sure. And then if there's anything I'm making that's like sweeter or breakfasty, I use cinnamon spice.
Oh yeah, I do love cinnamon. Cinnamon's a popular one on the show. A lot of people say that. And then we've had some good spicy ones too that people have brought up.
I went from Spice Girls to Spice Rack. That's a really nice combination there.
Yeah, so that's how it started because I used to ask people if they had any questions on my Instagram before I did these, and then it just got to be too much to keep track of. So then I just kind of kept the same questions that I liked, and I just ask random ones for everybody now. But it started with somebody trying to ask what their favorite Spice Girl was, but they made a typo and just asked what their favorite spice was. So I was like, well, now I kind of want to know. Like,
I love it.
Now that you portrayed that question, I need to know. We have
another connection problem. Move again.
We're freezing again.
We've lost connection.
It's always fun. We've had
there we go, it's back.
Yay! We've had the garage door opening. It sounded like mice were being murdered. The garage door closed. We've had the freezing. It's definitely a cliche Jerry episode.
Very eventful podcast.
Yeah, it's never boring. But I'll let you go. Is there anything you want to share with the people before we end the recording?
My goodness, yeah. If you guys have liked my my long-winded breakdown of movies and kind of why they're good and bad, check out my YouTube channel. That is Styles Clash #4 Life, LIFE, Styles Clash 4 Life. My Twitter, if you guys want to talk back and forth about spices or Spice Girls or Spice Racks or anything else that involves spice, that is at JBurke, JAYBURKE. On between my Twitter and my YouTube channel. I'll be having a bunch of stuff with my book sales, movies that are coming out, new trailers that are dropping, things I'm working on. I do all kind of photo shoots. I've been doing modeling, acting, producing, writing, directing. I just finished my portion of a feature film called Calf, which is shooting this fall. I'm currently writing a duet script with a friend about the psychology of dreams and kind of the effects of dreams. I'm still working on a web series called Sasha Reclaimed. I'm one of the ADs for that. I just finished ADing on a film that is about to go to festivals now called Extinguished. So we got a bunch of good stuff down the pike.
You're all kinds of busy.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. So if you guys want to follow that, you can Facebook me at Jason Burke, JASONBURKE, at JBurke, JAYBURKE on Twitter, and Styles Clash 4 Life on YouTube.
Awesome. And then if you send me the links, they'll be in the description box below too. We can always do that. And then you can just clicky if you're listening. Awesome. Thank you, Jason. I'll stop the recording, but you don't have to it won't end the call. So, okay, bye.